One of my followers asked for this, so let's do a study of the works of Ryan Murphy. Real heads, or millennials, will remember Popular, which aired on the WB for 2 years, way back in 1999. I was way too young to be watching this, but I did watch it. I still remember that the second season ended on a cliffhanger, but this show was about two girls, one of whom was popular, one of whom is not, and I think the dad marries her mom or vice versa, so they have to like live together, and obviously they hate each other. The show really explores the like ladders of popularity, right? The way that beauty and class and weight affect how people perceive you, which was kind of groundbreaking way back in 1999. Next up, we have Nip Tuck, which is kind of a wild show. This was very dark and very serious. It's about two men who have a plastic surgery office, and they're also best friends, and one of them is in love with the other one's wife. It was very, very messy and very, very complicated. I think that this show had like a very specific queer undertone where I felt Julian McMahon, RIP, Julian McMahon was like in love with Dylan Walsh's character, but like they didn't say that until like season 4. One of them had like a crazy son, and it was just like a really, really, really intense show. I think he joined a cult at one point, but the show was known for every episode starting with a different patient, and they would say what they wanted to change about themselves. This was exploring the LA like beauty industry way back in like the early, it was like 2004, 2005, but still very incisive about beauty, while having obvious pitfalls by the fact that it was written by a white guy. We cannot talk about the works of Ryan Murphy without talking about Glee. Some would say his masterpiece. I watched every single episode of this. Real ones know the lore of ONTD Glee. In between Nip Tuck and Glee, he said that he had a couple of shows that weren't picked up, and so he wanted to create something that was like family friendly. So he created Glee, but one of the things that is interesting when you look at his oeuvre is that these shows still, they might be like nice and positive on the surface, but they still have like a dark core, right? Or maybe the dark core is the surface and like the optimism is at the bottom. But as you continue looking at all the stuff that he's created and written, there is this melding of like cynicism and optimism that's constantly warring. For those who don't know, and I don't know how you are on this app without knowing, this was a show about a high school glee club in Ohio and Rachel Berry and her quest to escape Ohio. That's how I watched the show, right? There were a lot of characters, and I think one of the reasons that I had major beef with the show when it was first on was that it proclaimed itself to be like very progressive, and like there was a character in a wheelchair and like a black woman and a Latina and all these queer characters, but like you will very quickly realize, like after the first 9 episodes, that nobody gets storylines except for Quinn and Rachel and Puck and Finn. And then eventually Kurt when he starts dating Blaine. But everyone else is sort of like a background character. Maybe Santana and Brittany get some love, but everyone else, don't expect Tina Cohen-Chang to ever say anything. And the actress who played Mercedes said this herself. She was like, we didn't do anything. We would just come out saying, and then they would send us home. After that, he did American Horror Story, and unfortunately, American Horror Story superfans, please leave this space. This is not a safe space. Season 1 is good. Season 2 is okay. Season 3 is great. Everything else is bad. People are going to say Season 4 is good, Season 5 is good. They're lying. Every single thing after Season 3 is bad. And this is where you find out the curse of Ryan Murphy, because something similar happened to Nip Tuck and very clearly happened with Glee. He is very good at an idea, and he is very good at like the beginning of an execution, but not good at everything after. The space between American Horror Story Season 2 and Season 3 was great because it gave us this poster and this poster, which I had on my wall at one point. So Coven had incredible marketing. Season 1 of American Horror Story did give us the incredible moment at the very end where we find out what exactly is going on with the house. Spoilers for Season 1 if you haven't seen it, so skip. When the mom finally passes away and she sees Thaisa Farmiga, who had been dead for a while at that point, and she's like, Mom, I'm sorry you lost your baby. And Connie Britton is like, but I didn't lose my baby. It makes me cry every time. In my estimation, this is when Ryan Murphy was at the peak of his powers and he could get anything made, but not necessarily kept on the air. So The New Normal only aired for like a season or 2. And yes, that is Nene. I did not watch this because I don't love Andrew Rannells. After this, he did The Normal Heart, which was a TV movie for HBO. This was very good, very, very sad. And another way to explore queer identity through the lens of HIV, but also exploring themes of like love and loss and connection. Like I said, everything was getting greenlit, but not staying on the air. Scream Queens aired for 2 seasons, I think. And people were really surprised because Emma Roberts was having a moment after Coven and Scream 4. Leah Michelle was on it. Keke Palmer was on it. It did give us Glenn Powell, but it was canceled. The OJ season of American Crime Story is good. The Gianni Versace season is bad. The impeachment season is good because he asked Monica Lewinsky to produce. Feud was interesting because it seems like once again he's exploring these themes of like power and connection between women and how that connection can corrode, especially with Hollywood. But the reviews weren't like amazing. Season 3 was Capote versus the Swans, which was very highly anticipated and a hit amongst gay men, but I don't think a lot of people watched it. I know that people love 911. I watched the first 2 seasons. I tried to watch it for the queer relationship or Awakening of Buck, but I couldn't do it, you guys. In 2018, he gave us Pose, which was interesting because after The Normal Heart, which was again exploring queerness through the lens of these like very wealthy white men, this was a story that put forth the stories of Black and Latina trans women. Obviously, the show did eventually come into controversy when, after the second season, I believe, Billy Porter won the Emmy and none of them did. And his response to it was very bad. I don't want to misquote and like throw people under the bus, but it wasn't a good response. After Pose, he left his original studio for Netflix, where he was making all of this content for them. People did not like Hollywood, but I did. Again, we're seeing his warring impulses for sleaze, camp, and mess because this was a very melodramatic show, while also being deeply optimistic because this was a show about a Black woman becoming the lead of a Hollywood movie and like changing the face of Hollywood and ending racism in 1940 versus 1965 after the Civil Rights Act. I'm not even going to discuss the politician because you guys know how I feel about that person. Ratched with Sarah Paulson. He loves Sarah Paulson, which I do admire, but like the show wasn't good. And again, it seems like this is the point where there's just content being churned out without necessarily an eye for quality. You guys know what I'm going to say. You guys know what I'm going to say. Actually, this was interesting. The first 2 episodes were good, and then it sort of went off the rails, but the real life story went off the rails too. I forgot to include American Sports Story, but that wasn't amazing. I watched the first 3 episodes. This was indistinguishable from American Horror Story in the mind of the American public. RIP to Dr. Odyssey. I feel like he's pouring a lot of work and resources into All's Fair, so we'll see how this fares with the general public, but this is a show about an all-woman-owned law firm, and they're doing like divorces, and they're fighting with I can't tell who works at the firm and who is their enemy based on the trailer, but like, my conclusion is that he loves melodrama, he loves camp, he loves sleaze, he loves mess, but he also has like a beating heart that he wants to proclaim and like show. I don't know how much of it he's showing anymore, but I know that he used to show it a lot. And I do think that there is a noticeable dip in quality after he left studios because the Netflix stuff just simply isn't as good. And if we want to look at the IMDb numbers, we can, but I know I'm right.